All right, it is 6:30, and let's go ahead and get started. This is October 20th, 2025, Public Safety Services Delivery Working Group. Let's call the meeting to order and take roll call. Could you please take roll call, please, Mr. Weston?
Councillor Allen.
Here.
Councillor One. Present. Mayor Ritma.
Here.
Commissioner Rizzo.
Here.
Commissioner Harrington is absent, excused. Commissioner Stephenson.
Here.
Commissioner Allen.
Here.
All right, thank you. All right, number 2 is public comment, and I do not see any public online or in the building, so we'll just go on. So number 3 is review of proposed IGA extension with Gresham for fire and emergency services.
So the proposal from before you is a revised amendment to the prior contract. It is through 2030, 2031 time year. It starts with a 10% escalation and proposes a 7% escalation for the following 4 years. This is lower than what was originally proposed in the Gresham deal. The Gresham deal that was originally proposed had us going from, just bear with me here, 3.2 to 4.3, 4.6, 4.9, 5.2, and basically up to 6 million by 2031. So you'll notice that this one has us roughly at about 4.6 million by 2030, 2031 fiscal year versus the last offer, which had us close to just over 6 million. So it's a better overall deal and extension, and the idea is that this gives us time to work in the task force to explore options of the fire districting, whether that is, I think we have 4 options currently on the table, whether it's we stay with Gresham Fire, or we go with Fire District 1, or we go with Fire District 10, or we form a new fire district altogether amongst the 4 cities. So this is buying us some time. It doesn't fix our general fund problems, but it is more palatable than the prior offers. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions. There are 3 different elements to be able to read this agreement in its entirety. You kind of have to start with the 2015 agreement and then go to the 2025 agreement and then go to this latest piece of agreement. Some of the things that we're pushing back on or asking Gresham to explain are the 10%. Why 10% this year? When historically what we've seen is about a 6 to 7.9 or 6 to 8% increase on an annual basis since 2015. So why 10% all of a sudden this year? And then the second thing that we're asking Gresham to modify or include is a exit clause for the 3 cities. Right now, the current amendment does not include that. So we're asking Gresham to consider putting something in similar to the 2015 agreement that allows for a 1-year exit or a 2-year exit, some manner or mechanism where the cities can part ways if it's not working.
Wasn't it Gresham who proposed that we go for 5 years?
Yes, that's what's being proposed is 5 years.
I don't think we need 5 years to make a decision.
Perhaps not. And that's why I think we need the exit clause, because if the math all starts.
But their exit clauses usually have some kind of big penalty.
Well, the original exit clause didn't from the 2015 agreement. It just had a 2-year notice clause. So you would give 2 years notice that you're wanting out of the agreement and you could exit. It also had components for all 3 cities. So if a city was in default of the agreement, it could be terminated within 30 days. those are not carried forward in the extension agreement, and then they weren't carried forward in this proposed extension either. And so we're asking them to think about installing that exit clause
Why
back.
can't we just do 2 years?
Why can't it be just 2 years?
I think we need to have a plan. And this is you, I interrupted you, but I think the idea is if we have a 5-year plan, there is an exit. What if it takes us 5 years to get a fire district going? Or it takes us 2 years, like, we need to have a plan of what we can look forward to for budget to kind of plan in case a fire district doesn't pass. So we still have a laid out 5-year plan of what we would be paying. It would just come from the general fund, right?
Okay, so in this new agreement, right, that we're working on here, the second agreement, as it's redlined in blue, it's talking about mutually exiting if we go into a district or something, or mutually extend or what have you. So it looks like it's open to, we don't know what the future is, right?
Yeah.
So I'm reading this and I'm going, okay, it's mutual, meaning we all have to agree on it, but it's got a way of handling the different situations that may come up, whether we need to extend it or not extend it, or end it early. I suppose what could happen as a downside would be if you go into a district, right, but Gresham says no, that could be a stickler, right? If Gresham turns down a district and the 3 cities go into a district.
I mean, basically, at that point, I think we had talked about, we would, let's just say we go to Fire District 10. Fire District 10, they contract with Gresham. It's just gonna all be, it just kind of reroutes, you're basically rerouting money. So all the fire district's now gonna take care of that contract with Gresham to provide service for the district, which would include.
So
X, Y, and
that's
Z.
why it's written like this, to be a non-issue, is because we don't expect it to be an issue.
Wouldn't expect it to be, but I think to have wording that says we as a city can exit with a year's notice. But the idea is that by doing this, we're all mutually kind of agreeing that we're working on moving towards a district together anyways. So that is like one issue. The other issue is just to like, I want to make sure and answer that question before, which was, why don't we just do a 2-year or 3-year agreement? But I think one of the things that was brought up in our last council meeting was we need to make sure that we have contingency plans in place for if a district doesn't pass.
Right.
And this gives us some contingency for 5 years, right? It gives us a little bit of a buffer if you know what you're going to pay in, fiscal year 2030, 31. So as a city, we can account for that in our budget or make plans of what we're going to do looking ahead for these numbers in case it doesn't pass.
So
And I think that that's
there's
important.
a chance that we can get a fire district within this 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
And if we can't, we might still have some room on the tail end to work out a plan B,
Yeah.
I'm just,
implement a plan B.
I know you like Gresham, and I love Gresham Fire, but I'm very concerned that they're gonna just keep pushing this and not really try and go for a district.
And I hear you, but we also, and this is all press, we haven't had our work group meeting with Gresham and the other 2 cities yet. And so I can't sit here and say in our meeting, I get a really good vibe that yes, we're all working towards this because we haven't had that meeting yet.
I mean, because right away they come out and do the 5 year.
Now, I have been listening to the other meetings.
Yeah.
Right, of the other cities.
Right, yeah.
And, my surprise was Gresham turned. They seem to be amenable to talking something out. We're that way, and the other 2 cities seem to be that way as well. So the temperature in the room, even though you haven't had that first meeting, seems to be pretty good this time. I don't know if
I
they'll
agree,
change.
I agree with you,
right?
but
We
that's
don't
kind
know
of, I
if
guess,
they'll
what I'm
change,
going off of, but.
It's better than it was.
Yeah,
I can just kind of put in 2 cents here. When Gresham conducted the initial financial analysis of the Marinette Company, they found that they can't afford their fire services under the current model either. And I think they are dipping into their general fund even more extensively than the rest of us as well. So I think every year that goes by, all 4 cities are feeling a little bit more of an impact upon our general funds. I think Gresham has realized that they can't afford it either. And so all 4 of us are moving in unison, hopefully to a fire district model that's more sustainable in the long run.
I got that same feeling. They realized the same thing we had realized earlier. Now it's like, okay, they understand it now. We understood it. How are we going to go forward?
And I think with this fire district task force, the deeper we dive in this, I think the numbers are going to speak for themselves. I mean, Gresham's looking at $3.73 with their current levy. If we add our total assessed value with Troutdale, Fairview, Wood Village, maybe it goes down 10 cents, maybe it goes down 20 cents. We don't know what that is yet. When you add compression to the model, what's that going to look like? The first initial modeling by Tiberius had all cities taking a tax deferment for the first 5 years, so then it didn't necessarily calculate the true cost of compression. So these are all answers that need to be fleshed out as we go through this, and so those numbers may change. It may be that District 10's coming in saying we'll provide it for $285. District 1 is saying we can do it for $292 or $240. They started out with $240 for year 1, and we add fire stations $292. Each option is going to present its own mathematical equation, and I think the task force is going to have to look at that, and I think the numbers will end up speaking for themselves toward the end, and then we'll have to figure out what the best course is.
I think Mike is right about pushing back on the 10% raise the first year. That inevitably raises all the subsequent years. It isn't consistent with what we want. I think Jeffrey's right that we should have, and Mike, you said more or less the same thing. We need an opt-out. It needs to be a 1 year, or when the parties finally agree to go for a district, we have the option of opting out. But all in all, it's good that Gresham came forward with something to extend the agreement, so we have an option. Without this option, the other option we have is Fire District 1. So, I mean, theoretically, there's others, but time's running out, and it's good Gresham came forward. Let's negotiate the terms as best we can. The original 2-year opt-out provision isn't going to be suitable right now. It'll be, I think the parties will come to an agreement. So we need some more answers, and we should presumably, you and the other managers will get together and we'll have something by the 6th of November when the task force meets.
Right. And I
Hope so.
had a meeting with Nathan from Fairview this afternoon, just a phone call conversation about it. And we are in, I think all 3 cities are in agreement that our big questions are, why the 10%? And maybe it's part with their recent union negotiations, and that's why it's 10% versus the 7.4, 7.6 that it was last year, or 7.9. It seems to fluctuate between 6.9 and 7.9 over the past few years. So why the 10%? There's good justification for that, maybe. But I can say that the proposal that's on the table now with this extension is a better deal overall than even what we were being offered from District 1 initially. So it's a cheaper version, I would say. Is it sustainable in the long run? Maybe not. But enough.
I appreciate this, I really do. But I just have to say, early on, 373 comes out. And we're like, where's that number coming from? Well, that's the number, that's the way it is, we're not talking about it. That goes on for a year. And then we hear that we don't have any more time, we just have to do something about this. And then it seems like when push really comes to shove, somebody comes back and does something a little more reasonable. And I think the 5-year thing is great if we have something in there that any city can exit the clause. This says mutually agreed upon. Does that mean that if all 4 vote and 3 vote to stay in, everybody stays in? Because you're part of the group? Or can you leave because you're part of the group? Is it a unanimous decision or is it in part? But,
Okay, go ahead.
and I mean, for 373 for Troutdale is 8,102,000 based on our assessed value for next year. 8 million. And so we've been asking, why is it 8 million? Nobody can answer that question. And this is great that it is what it is. I mean, the first year it's 164, then it goes 171, 177, 184, and 197 over 5 years. So that's a 31.1% increase over the course of 5 years, which is better than what we've had. But I'm still trying to figure out how it had to be 373 and now it has to be 164.
You're losing me there. Where's
If we were doing a fire district, it was gonna have to be 373 per 1,000 minimum.
It doesn't say that in here.
That's all the information that we've gotten over the past 2 years to this point
I know, I'm just saying, where did you get it from?
from Gresham.
It's from the Gresham reports on what our per capita rate would be.
Everything they've given us is 373.
And
Because that's what they're estimating it's going to be to run their fire department for all 4 cities.
And we're like, well, why does this cost so much?
on their original idea of them collecting from us the same amount as they collect from Gresham.
No. The 373 would be what everybody was going to pay, everyone.
Well, that's just what I said.
Yeah, but
That
it's based on
Charging
that
us
assessment,
the same as Gresham.
Right.
Okay. That isn't in this proposal.
It's not.
It's not.
But it affects that proposal.
I don't, all right, was my question, Tanny. You're good at this. What do you mean?
How does it, I guess, yeah, just like, how does it affect this proposal?
Well, because I guess the question is, I'm in favor of the proposal. Let's be clear about that. But I'm like, how did it go to half?
Basically, why did we have to start a year ago with getting this ridiculous rate, and now we can actually get to something that's reasonable? Why couldn't we just do it in the first place?
Have we wasted all this time and money to get where we were going to get to anyhow?
No, we're actually better off. I mean, one could argue.
I mean, how did this, okay, you start out saying, I'll sell you the car for $100 when you're really gonna sell the car for $50. But you beat the guy up over the $100 to get to the 50, I mean,
Well, you're saying we didn't get anything, but we did actually. Gresham
we
did.
did, but I'm saying, how did we get to half of where we were?
Are you frustrated that we wasted our time? Is that what you're kind of saying?
Because it wasn't a waste, really. It was good.
I am frustrated that we couldn't get the answers that we needed more than once,
Oh, way more than one.
okay? And we've been forced into a box. And right now, the box is fine. But I will tell you, for me, I look at things long-term. What's this gonna be like long-term? I hate to say it.
Hopefully, we don't have to deal with it long-term. We can move to a fire district, and then it's...
You're dealing with it all the time if it's a fire district. You're still paying for it. You're still using the service. I mean, the issue doesn't go away with it being in a fire district.
Well, it isn't Gresham anymore controlling things without our
You are
say.
still paying for it and you are still using the service.
Our citizens elect the fire district, and yes, the fire district would
The fire
control it.
district board would make those decisions.
Yeah, but Gresham wouldn't be dictating the way that their first proposal before we announced we were going with Fire District 1, their first proposal, which I forget the number, but you said 8 million or something. That proposal was withdrawn or pulled back by Gresham once they realized we were out of here. We're not gonna take it anymore, you know, I guess, Tanny, the time wasn't wasted. We got a better deal. Gresham is offering us a better deal. Not quite there, but close to good. That doesn't mean we should stay with Gresham forever, because I'm not advocating that. I'm a believer in the fire district. But what I didn't understand was sounded like you were saying we've been wasting our time or something, and really we're a lot better off now than we were as far as the offer from Gresham. If we accept this one, we're a lot better off than we were before.
And just point out also that even with this agreement, it's still not sustainable long-term, given where we're at.
Right, this is just a contract, yeah.
This is
Contract for service.
this is a stopgap measure to get us to a fire district at some point. Otherwise, we're gonna have to look at public safety fee increases and those sort of things.
Okay, so the original number, right, that was unreasonable. We said, no, we're not gonna do it. We'll figure something else out, we're not doing that. This number, I gotta ask, how does it compare? And then I guess I'm pointing this to Commissioner Stephenson. How does this number compare to fire service costs in the region? Seems like it seems more reasonable within that range.
It's more reasonable, but you have to remember, this again does not include any capital.
Right.
This is an operational model. So it is
With
still,
no capital, how are we doing?
it's still higher than anybody else's.
Tanny, you might know off the top of your head, what is our total assessed value? Because I think you've used it before to calculate what the number would be if we went to.
What I'm using is 2,172,270.
1.7
No, 2,172,270.
Thanks.
So in negotiations, right, it happens all the time, not just in public service, but business, right? There's customary range of what that should look like if we don't have an investment in any of the capital.
Correct.
And so if we adjusted for the not having the investment in capital, how are we doing compared to other regional service providers?
Well, we're already higher, so we would still be higher.
Still be higher?
Yeah.
Like TVA would be higher than them, or
Yeah.
maybe lower than Portland?
No, I think
No.
Portland's higher.
I mean, when you say we would be higher than, we wouldn't be higher than Portland, I don't think, on this model.
Right, not on
On
this.
373,
Yeah, the 373 wasn't gonna happen.
we'd be like, almost like the second highest in the state,
Right.
373.
It is remarkably high, and we're trying to figure out, hopefully the task force will dive into some of those operational numbers that are being equated to the Gresham model and figure out why there's inconsistencies and how much it costs to run personnel and fire stations under the Gresham model versus the Clackamas model. Because just our back of the napkin math that Seth over at Wood Village was able to pull in is there's a $7 to $8 million discrepancies on the materials and services that Gresham charges for their fire versus what Clackamas is doing, running 21 fire stations versus the 6 fire stations that Gresham's running. They're the same cost for materials and services, so.
Anything to do with their lack of taking care of their infrastructure for so long, and that they're so far behind in keeping all these stations up to date? that they're having to pour a ton of money into it, and so that's raised their costs up.
Gresham,
Yeah.
but that's more capital.
Yeah, that'd be capital.
Most of that's capital.
Not materials and services.
370, whatever it was just.
That didn't include capital.
Didn't include capital. I know I asked you, Mike, earlier, about adding some sort of a like pop-up station in Fairview Wood Village area. Has there been any chatter of that whatsoever within this contract?
Yes. There has been.
That would be helpful too, to like know about that.
Yeah, there has been talk about that. I'm not sure if that will happen under this IGA, but I think that is a recognized need. And so what they're talking about potentially doing is moving part of, is it 76, so I'm gonna mix it up. I think it's 74, right? That's on that side, 75 here. So part of 74, like the EMS and maybe an engine or could set up at a temporary shop at the corner of 247th and Gleason, or I think it's 247th and Gleason, right in that area, which would be right on the corner of like Wood Village and Fairview, I want to say. And then from that location, they should be able to service their service gap that they have in this general vicinity. If you looked at the heat maps on the Gresham proposal, I don't know if you all got that or you saw it, but you could see that there was definitely a service gap in that central area around Wood Village and north of I-84, and their response times fell once you get to those areas. So the idea is to put a temporary station at that location and then potentially another temporary station at South Gresham to fill the gap and services. I don't know how they're gonna.
I don't think Gresham, I haven't seen a proposal though from Gresham.
Exactly.
Just concepts, and that is used in Fairview and Wood Village as a selling point, that Clackamas One is promising to put a station in, it would be at the border of Wood Village and Fairview. You know, it's just a point. It's not, it's still gonna be a tough sell.
That would be the higher rate, so.
Yes.
That'd be the $2.92 per thousand rate with Clackamas. They said the $2.40 rate without that, right? If they were just to take over with the fire station 75, and they were saying the $2.40, but if they added the additional mobile site, they were saying it was gonna be $2.92.
If Gresham added a station out here, that was going to be the 476 rate.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't hear that, but yeah.
I haven't heard that, but anyway, Gresham needed to respond, or needs to respond to this Fire District 1 proposal, but that isn't really what's before us. This 5-year extension doesn't talk about adding stations or.
What was the rate that Gresham had for with the fire station?
476.
Where was that? I don't recall seeing that.
It was in their the big study.
The
Study.
one for,
That was their enhanced version. 373 was basic, 476 was enhanced.
but that was for just Gresham City itself forming a district. That's what that study was.
Well, no, that one, yeah, you had one that had 160 million in capital for Gresham, but the one for capital over here was 476.
Well, at least the one I remember seeing, the study I remember seeing, only dealt with Gresham city limits. So it wouldn't include servicing Fairview and Wood Village.
That's the one I saw too. It was just Gresham, and they were coming up with the $3.73, and then the thought was if they added Troutdale, Fairview, and Wood Village, they might be able to knock a quarter off of that per thousand. And that's kind of wishful thinking,
Okay.
but that's based on kind of the numbers that we were going off of.
But did they come out with another study that?
I
that Kenny's talking about?
I mean, they might have it in the latter portions of that study,
All right,
but I can't recall reading that particular piece. I might have just missed it, you know? It's a lot of material and
well, I would certainly have been looking for it, and I don't recall it, but
Do you
Kenny, if
remember
you find it,
in that meeting, when information came out, so then Mr. Dave gets that?
the Marina and Company one. I think this is the enhanced future growth goals. Estimated at 469 per thousand.
does that include?
That's the one you're talking about.
The three cities, though?
This is just Gresham, I think.
That's what I was thinking too. I did see
So
some.
that would have been the fire district cost for all the cities.
Yeah, so what it's saying is enhanced future growth goals for an independent fire district. So estimated operating costs of approximately 41.4 million for fiscal year to 80 million in fiscal year 2034. So from 2025 to 2034, you're looking at almost a double. So from 41 million to 80.3 million. And then,
But that's you said an independent fire district, but that doesn't necessarily include Troutdale, Wood Village, and Fairview.
that's correct.
I don't think it does. I don't think that was in that study. That was capital improvement in the Gresham city system.
So scenario one was baseline operations, additional provisions for an independent fire district. And that was the $3.73 per thousand. And then the enhanced for future growth goals, which I imagine are the additional fire stations, and it's page 4 of the Marina and Company report that Gresham had, was the $4.69 per thousand.
Well, you might want to send us that, or have somebody send it to us. I just don't recall that one.
I have a copy of it. It's the same one, but it's the Gresham analysis one. It says Gresham Fire District Financial Analysis Study by Marina and Company.
Can you send that to us?
So enhanced future growth for scenario 2 included additional 10 FTE, new station 77, additional 41 FTE, the construction of the new station, 2 additional fire apparatuses. And
I don't
so
know where 77 is. That could be the
That's
south.
the one I think they're talking about.
that's the new one.
But they were also talking about one on South Gresham too. Is that in there as well?
So,
They were replacing 71, 73, and 74. Those were the 3 that were getting replaced.
the point is, does it include the 3 cities in that study? I haven't heard anything that says that it
I don't
does.
think it does, no.
I don't think it does either.
I believe it does.
All right,
Okay, if it doesn't, there isn't anything that I've ever seen that says it was gonna cost less than 373.
I don't,
So-
I'm sure you're right. I'm sure you're right.
I just remember their study that they did, like, it was like the Gresham Fire District, and it really only pertained to the city of Gresham.
Here, page 7. Analysis assumptions. The city of Gresham currently provides fire and emergency services to the cities of Fairview, Wood Village, and Troutdale to operate Multnomah County Rural Fire Protection District 10 and to operate 1/3 of Portland Fire Station 31 under contract through intergovernmental agreements. For the purposes of this analysis, it is assumed that an independent district would continue to provide the same levels of service to these entities.
Oh, okay, all right.
So those two numbers figured into what Tanya was saying, like they would include us.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't have that one, because I was looking for something like that, and I've never seen it, so.
But in terms of this contract, reviewing this extension, just kind of hit what Tanny said, like, I feel like our efforts for you as participating member of this committee, me as an elected member, like, our efforts were really well done. Like, we put a time and effort into this. We've gotten a deal that makes sense for us for our budget for now. It gives us time that and it gives us, we can plan ahead out 5 years. We can take our budget and be like, all right, well, this is coming down the road. We can't afford this. This is why we're working on this, but we can at least plan for this and start ideas of for contingency plans, like what we're gonna do, what we're gonna have to do, what are our options to do if the fire district doesn't pass. And so minus the initial 10%, minus our kind of overall concerns of there's a coverage gap area that we've known about. I think that this, like, at least is much more amenable to us at this point.
And I guess I would just say for budget purposes, it would just be good to know if a district is gonna be 373. If that's the plan, we should know that going into this.
I think from this point forward, that's like what you were talking about earlier, like, that's what we're gonna need to hash out, what that means, what that includes, everything you're gonna get for whatever number our studies show of when you vote for a fire district, this is what it's gonna be and this is why. I would hope it would be less, don't get me wrong, I don't want it to be that number, right? Like, there's all these 280 numbers around, minus that people are paying currently. I know that, inflation's happening right now and there's more costs, but that's our next thing to hash out and have all that info.
So I just want to put a caveat on what I said previously, because then you turn the page and go to the next one. It says, for this analysis, the boundaries of the potential district are assumed to include all properties within Gresham city limits and the assessed value for the city of Gresham. So I don't think it added the total assessed value of the 3 cities in their equation. So I think you're gonna get a higher number, but let's be frank in the sense that the total assessed value for Gresham being probably 10 to 11 billion, the total assessed value for Troutdale at 2.1 billion, with Fairview and Wood Village is probably another billion. So it's not gonna move the needle a ton. It's probably gonna move it, like we said, maybe a quarter to 50 cents, if you're lucky.
And again, I went off of, for purposes of this analysis, it assumed that independent district will continue to provide the same level of services to these entities. And this was in the packet that was given to us for the August 21st, 2025 meeting. So, sorry, we all got this information, and if this was inaccurate, somebody probably should have figured it out. But I do hate it when you ask questions and you get, well, that's the way it is. That's my frustration. Because I think our taxpayers deserve better.
Now, the idea that the rate is 373 for a district doesn't, you don't need to, is independent of the decision of whether we accept Gresham's 5-year offer with some renegotiation of a couple of terms. They're separate.
No, it is. It is.
Because, Tanny,
Am I tying them together?
You said before we go ahead with this, we should know whether we're gonna have a 373 fire district, and that's all I'm saying. We don't need.
Well, I think we need to know that, not before we sign this document, but I think it's something that the city needs to know.
Oh, absolutely. I can't disagree.
And I think for a change, it would also be good to know why.
Right. Oh.
Well, and I'd like to know, like, not at the last minute either. I mean, you know, like you said, we've been asking Gresham all this time and never got anything until the last minute, and we didn't get anything till we talked to, talked to Clackamas, and so my concern is, how long are we gonna wait to really get actual numbers of, you know, not at the last minute.
I think that there's a serious push from our neighbors, Wood Village and Fairview, who are really struggling financially with being able to pay even these contract rates. And that's why we're asking for the off-ramp, so to speak, or an exit clause to this contract, because Fairview and Wood Village are in deeper financial straits than we are. We currently are deficit spending on our budget every year, but they are far and away, it's going to be a major problem for them in just a matter of a year or two. So
We don't wanna go down that road.
we don't want to go down that road hopefully again. So I think if we stay ahead of it, we stay on it, we're in good shape. This seems like a pretty reasonable offer, and it sets a rate that we can budget for the next 5 years while we flesh out this district possibility and figure out what our best course of action is. But like I said earlier, I think the numbers will tell a story by the time we get into this thing and we start diving into it.
So when do you guys meet next? November 6th?
The task force. Task force. The 4 cities and Fire District 10 task force. Which is gonna be,
You guys didn't put Clackamas on the task force?
And the city manager, right?
I don't think,
They're not currently.
I think they're in it.
Clackamas Fire District?
It's the 4 cities and Fire District 10. And that's to decide really how serious, particularly Gresham. I mean, we're looking to join a fire district. We're trying to, when one gets created, or we'll join one that exists, or we have a couple options, but Gresham is sounding much more reasonable about wanting to do it, but up till now, they've been, not up till recently, they've been against it, or not in favor at least. Now they're willing to consider it. So that's what November 6th is. The key thing is, where is Gresham gonna be in that meeting?
Right, and what did they say? It's hugs and kisses right now, but this is a long enough time that we don't know who's going to be elected going forward, and we don't know if they're even going to be reasonable, rational people that do get elected. So we do have to have contingencies within this in case things do go south. Such as what you mentioned earlier, the exit, right? And then I don't know that Gresham has a good answer for the original number. I think we looked at it and said, it's not meeting muster. We don't want to do that. I don't know how productive that would be. Maybe I'm missing something. Could be. That's it, just.
It looks to me like Gresham did their financial model, and he came up with the 373 per thousand, and they said, well, that's what we're coming up with, and that's what it's gonna be, and that was the offer that they put on the table. And then the 3 cities said, that's more than we can afford, and threatened to walk away, and Gresham came back to the table and said, okay, well, we looked at the numbers again, and we realized it's not sustainable for us either. And so moving to a fire district is the best model, and we need to figure out how to get there together if possible. And I think that's where we stand right now.
Right, and we do need to have a voice in that new fire district, right? Yeah. So the contract needs to be changed for that purpose. And then it also has to handle the eventuality that not all cities go for a fire district.
It has to math out, you know, you have to be able to compute those numbers in there and make it make sense. If you're charging our residents $1 more per thousand than going to Clackamas, what's wrong with our model? Why is it not computing in the same fashion as other fire districts that are able to do the same thing with more fire stations and more personnel or a lesser number?
And we gotta look out to the future, not just today. So today, Gresham Fire has all the equipment in the stations, right? But in the future, it's a fire district, and we need to have fair representation within that fire district. Because it's gonna look very different 10, 20 years from now.
Another very important point to make is that giving Troutdale, Fairview, Wood Village a voice on the,
Well, the fire district is a separate government entity. All the citizens in the whole district vote for it. So the amount of say we'll have is based on what our voters say.
maybe the formation of a new fire district has, districts within the fire district, that identify a seat for elected purposes.
Yeah, there's usually some kind of agreement of how you're gonna do the governance going forward.
Well, I would hope Troutdale would have a say,
Yeah.
instead of having somebody like all this time Gresham has the say, they don't. we don't
I
have.
guess my main point is don't look at the here and now, look at where we're gonna be 10, 20 years from now, which is a very different picture. And does it still make sense that it's fair representation on what gets settled on as an agreement for how that goes forward?
There's some model questions too. Is it fire that we're paying for? Is it fire and EMS? Is AMR providing EMS services, or is it Gresham Fire? Those are all questions that can be hashed out. I know that they like to bundle their services. But it might be something that you.
With the county has that contract, and so how do you work it out with the county, and how does that affect your rates?
Right.
What do you want, et cetera? Like something Salem just went to this last year, they are now doing their own EMS service. They had to work it out with the county also. Are you guys, and by you guys, I mean, is this city manager, you are gonna go back and ask those couple questions about the rate to 10 with them and kind of get a final answer?
That's what
Do
we're
you like, from us, like obviously the city council will stamp approval, all that stuff, but from us, do we need to give you give a yay or nay on this current contract in lieu of not knowing exactly what you're gonna talk about, or?
Yeah, that's what we're asking for, is a recommendation from this committee on how you feel we should proceed, if you feel we should proceed with this intergovernmental agreement, and then make that recommendation to the city council at our next update. I feel that this is a far and away better agreement than what we had before. It's a better rate than what Clackamas 1 was proposing as well. So our recommendation is to move forward with it. And if we get answers on why the 10%, then, might have to hold our nose a little bit, but
Or push back on the 10%,
we can try to push back a little bit.
if possible.
I'm pretty sure that they've sharpened their pencil significantly.
See what they say, and opt out.
Yes. I think the opt-out is fair.
And I think we're directing you to go back and see what you can do, but that in general, we're favorable.
Is that consensus?
Speaking for myself, anyway.
As long as we have an opt-out for Troutdale, we don't have to go with the others. And, you're on the task force. Listen to me, yes, I just don't want to see us drag this out and then in 5 years I know I'm old and I've been on these committees a long time and I've seen things dragged out. and dragged out. And I'm hoping it's not 5 years from now that we get it on the ballot. I hope for them too.
Well,
And then that'll give us another chance if it fails, we can try again.
so I know Reynolds School District is going out for a bond in November 2026. We do not want to compete with
No,
that.
I mean, that's next year. So we're talking about the next.
Hasn't there
That
been,
would be 2 years from now. Reynolds is a year from now, right? Okay. So
yeah, right, has there been, there's been like preliminary discussions, like looking not necessarily like next year or the year after, maybe 3 years from now or something, to where we really have time to develop the educational strategies for help it pass deficiency. We talked about that kind of at the last meeting with the Gresham Fire.
Yeah.
Was here, et cetera, but
They're hoping for the next presidential, that's what they were hoping, but that's a long ways out.
I hope for that
Way
too.
Too far out,
Yeah.
don't you think?
it's 3 years
They were
from
saying
now.
2027 is kind of a dead year, so 2028 is kind of the year you want to aim for. And then what, the next presidential is 2030, is that right?
Hope not. 2028.
2028?
2028.
Okay.
Next
Well, that's-
presidential.
Or 27. but-
Oh,
Presidential is 28.
yeah, 28 for presidential.
So that's only 2 years away.
And this contract is until the end of 30, right?
Yeah.
Things don't work out, you got 2 years to come up, implement Plan B. It's written here, you know, that we're able to do other things, but it has to be a collective decision. Yeah,
Correct, yeah.
I'm not exactly sure what that means.
Right, exactly. And that's why I think having the exit clause is a clear fashion. Because what they did is they got rid of sections D and E
Right.
in the original contract, which had
That was
the,
our ability to leave in a 2-year period of time.
yes,
Should things go south.
yes.
And it was
Right
for
now, we don't-
Troutdale only. Troutdale only could leave. We could agree. We could leave
yeah.
without the
And-
other two
And
cities.
other cities could agree as well.
Yes, they,
Now it's like the
Their
whole
choice.
crew has to collectively agree, and I don't know if that's correct. And so,
That's in there because somebody thinks it's important, but if things go south, we've got to have some kind of autonomy to say, whoa.
yeah, they either think it's important or they overlooked it. And so that's why myself and Greg and Nathan, the city managers of the 3 cities, are asking them to modify that.
yeah, but this wording, Rich, is allow Gresham and the other 3 cities to explore the possibility of forming a new district. That's not the same as us opting out. That's just, we're saying, in conjunction with the other cities, we're gonna explore. That doesn't bind us irrevocably. That just says, what I'm saying is, this isn't opt-outed. It is couched in terms of it being,
Yeah, we don't, in the new agreement, we don't have an ability to leave.
well, we're gonna ask for that. And leave on our own if we need to, but that in the meantime, the cities and Gresham will work together to try to form a new district. That really is,
Now, I get it, it's a two-edged sword, right? I mean, if we opt out and we've got a year to come up with something, and that's not much time. Or if they decide they don't want to do this anymore, and they only give us a year, that's not much time for us to do something else. I think that's originally why we had that opt-out at 2 years.
And Gresham's under the impression that it's going to take 2 to 5 years to complete all the studies and deal with the logistics for transferring over to a fire district.
Right.
So that's why they're proposing the 5 years, because that's within their wheelhouse to provide all the logistics and analyses and education and everything that goes along with that. So that's their assessment. Whereas Troutdale, Fairview, and Wood Village all have a steeper timeline. At least it feels like a steeper timeline because of what's happening to our general funds.
Right.
We could opt out earlier, have the fire district pay, go to the fire district, but they haven't exactly, they haven't they go a year later or something like that, but we want to have an opt-out where city's not on the, just goes to the fire district, so.
What does the reasonable number look like? What does the reasonable opt-out look like? So we can at least provide direction.
Like a reasonable number for,
You know, what are the reasons we opt out? And
oh, I see.
of course, we have to give notification and how many years of notification do we give?
So
I think it's pretty unlikely that we would opt out against the wishes of the other three cities. I really do. I just don't,
No, some
I
would,
agree
some would
we
have
would-
to go very south, like a really bad election where you got some unreasonable people to work with.
I think the reason we opt out and no one else does is that we've passed the fire district. That's the
We
only
joined the
reason-
fire district.
That's literally the only reason we would opt out.
Yeah.
That I see, unless there's some other thing, something I'm not thinking of.
I don't see us opting out necessarily unless it got to a point where it's year 3, the writing's on the table, we're all looking at the same numbers and we're saying those options don't work. And maybe there's one party or two parties that say, well, that's the options we want to go with. And everybody else at the table is saying that those options don't work. So the collective choice is to go with a different option. That would be the only thing that I could foresee potentially. But even then, that's kind of a far shot, especially if we have a locked-in rate for 5 years at a sustainable number. And I think that's where we're at. And by sustainable, I mean, we're still probably gonna have to look at what kind of cuts or what kind of public safety increases that we have to think about in that process. So, but it's a heck of a lot better than going up by $500, $600, $700,000, $800,000 a year, or jumping from a $3.2 million contract to a $6 or $8 million contract on year 1. So at least we're on a trajectory that's not going to sink the ship right away.
Well, if you look at this, the way it's written, Gresham really has all the choices. And we don't have any choices. And now I admit that we don't have firehouses, we don't have engines or firefighters. So I get that. I know why they would want to protect that. I just don't know what we do if things go unreasonable.
I know this is hard to do, but we've talked a lot in this group about metrics and deliverables and holding people accountable, and you look in here and it's the level of service to be provided should be the same level that's been provided to 3 cities, da, 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 da. What is that?
Where we're at today, I think it's the baseline.
I mean, our response times are slower than national average. So I guess I'm saying is, are we supposed to be like 80% of something, or supposed to be 100% of something, supposed to be 20% of something? What does this mean? What level of service are we getting?
my answer as a lawyer would be, that's what you fight about after it goes south and everything falls apart. Then you argue, you didn't provide the level of service. I mean.
Well, I
we
think
have
if it's not in
numbers,
here,
we
it
can
isn't gonna
put in-
matter, correct?
Oh, yes, I think it certainly does. Because the numbers will be there, what the level of service was. But if there's some metrics that can be plugged in that are numbers, you will provide, 5-minute response time or 7-minute or something 80% of the time. I'm not against that, it seems like providing the same level of service we've had all these years is a reasonable way of saying.
Since it's gotten slower, right?
I don't know, has it gotten slower?
The response times have actually gotten slower over the years. So we're not getting the same amount of service that we were getting, really. If the response times are slower, how are we getting the same amount of service?
I didn't know the response times are slower, where's that documented? I mean,
So I'm not the historian when it comes to what the response times were. I can tell you what the response time estimate is now, which is 11 minutes, 20 seconds. I think based on, that's their average.
Average.
And I think on average, it takes 3 minutes or so for the 911 station to tone it out to them, and then approximately 3+ minutes for them to do the dress down and deploy. So then their average response was, 4.5 minutes after that, which puts them at about, it was like 11 minutes, 20 seconds, based on the report that I just saw from last month. That's kind of where they're sitting. And if that fire engine's on a call,
And it's longer.
then it's longer.
Can be longer, I should say.
And they also like haven't increased their staffing basically ever. And so while the population has, and their calls have increased like 3 times or 4 times over, so. I mean, I know what you're saying.
Right, but I
I
mean,
don't disagree with you, but
no, I guess what I'm saying is if it's a call, it's a call. If you're going from the station to a call, right? If the times from the time you leave the station to a call, it doesn't matter how many calls you have. We're measuring that call.
I think what Mike said, like we had talked last week, was that till they leave, that has extended out because for dispatches, you call 911, you sit there, right? And I mean,
Okay, that part has, but I'm saying it's not like if we added 2 more guys to the fire station, it wouldn't change that.
well, it probably kind of would if you think about it. This is just my like example, is that if 75 is out, they're the closest to you, right? So now it has to come from, is it 76? So that's longer to get to you. That's a call, right? Because this one was out. And now that one's out, then there's another one. And so like, it's just it rolls down because there's so many calls.
If 75 is coming to me, I'm praying, okay, because I'm in trouble.
I don't really see a systemic problem here, other than there's no incentive to invest in infrastructure in the 3 cities, and for Gresham to spend money on capital outside of their own city. I think that's the real problem, and that's what we're working to resolve with the fire district.
Well, realize that fire district isn't going to get us any capital.
Yeah, well,
A bond is what's going to get us capital.
yeah, it opens the door for some process in order for that to happen, that's certainly.
Right, but what I'm saying is if you're paying, just to be clear, if we're paying $280, let's say, for a fire district, it's gonna take a bond to do a fire station. It's gonna take a bond to do fire engines. In those reports, anything over $1 million, they said is bonded. So it's like, we join a fire district, that doesn't get us a replacement station, doesn't get us a new station, doesn't get us any equipment, more than we have today.
I think with the Clackamas 1 model, though, they said
Not with Clackamas, with Gresham's,
you're correct.
with Gresham's.
But it creates a framework for which that can happen in the future that we don't have right now.
Well, I'm not arguing that, but I'm just saying if we're looking at our cost for fire, and we say, okay, we're gonna get a fire station out of this at this price, that's probably not accurate.
We're not, no, they're totally separate.
I think that's part of the problem with the District 10 model. By going to District 10 at the $2.85 per thousand, I don't think there was enough money in that figure to add for additional fire stations, right? So when you add in the additional fire stations, maybe that's not sustainable anymore, maybe that number changes, or maybe they have to go out for another levy or a bond or something to that effect for those use.
But again, the overall point of us going to a district is because our general fund cannot sustain this. And so whether you get more fire stations, you have to bond that or do it later, like, is gonna end up being a problem with the fire district. Like, we are trying to get this out of our general fund so we can fund our general fund for other things. So it's like, to me, that's still a win. Whereas maybe later on down the road, we have to go for a bond to get another fire station or a fire engine or whatever it is. The point of this is to get it out of our general fund so we can fund our general fund. So we're getting, sense, to me, it's like now we're getting the best of both worlds. I'm getting what I need here and I'm getting what I need here. And if I eventually need a bond to build a fire, like that's an issue over here. But we've accomplished what our goal has been, is to get it out of our general fund. And they can fight, to me, they can fight over that at a later date. And that could be part of the education, like, remember to keep this in mind. We don't want to hold anything back from you. These are pros and cons of this, yes. But a big con to me is that this stays in your general fund. And we have big general fund issues. And you don't have a police, maybe you don't have a park. There's a lot of cons to that. We have way more pros by doing it this way. So that's, to me, like, I hear what you're saying, and that's a conversation for like way later on, but we need to accomplish this.
Well, I do think that if we're, I mean, this is a different discussion, but if we are gonna go to a fire district, we have to be able to justify what's gonna happen with all that money that's in the general fund. You can't just up everybody's taxes thousands of dollars each per year and not say, this is what we're gonna do with the money.
We're gonna have our own police department, like that's gonna cost a lot of money. You're gonna be able to keep your parks.
$1.5 million for police. Okay,
If we have our own police department.
$1.5 million more than you're paying today.
That's not gonna be the cost, like, in 5 years from now when this is all out.
It'll be the cost when it starts.
Yeah, much different than that.
It'll be the cost when it starts.
Right.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, what's the extra money going for? I mean, I think that's, if I was a taxpayer, which I am, that'd be the first question I'd ask. What are you gonna do with the money?
We go to streets, parks, police, services, all the things that cities are expected to provide, I would imagine. All the things that we're short on being able to complete every year, those are things that
Yeah,
they're looking for
I mean, that's what we've talked, I just feel like that's what we've talked about, like, that's what we're gonna have a list of stuff, that's gonna be part of the education process for the district, et cetera. The main issue is that we need to get this out of our general fund. Otherwise, we're not gonna be able to provide those services at all. So then you're gonna be like, where are those services? Like, well, everybody decided that we didn't want a fire district, and so, which is fine, right? But now, the council at the time, whatever that, they're gonna have to make really hard decisions on what they are going to cut.
One battle at a time. You know, at the moment, we're trying to maintain our fire coverage that we can afford.
I see where Tenny's going. He's
Oh,
looking.
yeah, we'll have to sell it to the voters, it'll be a tough
What's
sell.
that?
You're looking at the future, you know, what is it that we're gonna provide to the citizens where they go, yeah, this sounds like a good trade-off and a good value, and that's what you're looking for. We can't just increase our expenses unto the public.
I think it's like anything. I think it's very difficult to think that, oh, you can just wheel this out there, anybody can on anything and say, oh, this is what it costs. And people are gonna go, okay.
Oh, we don't think that.
I think with any of this, I think it has to be justified. Gresham Fire says this is what it cost.
But, now, you know, that's a battle we're gonna have to have. We'll have to justify it when we put it to the voters. But it's not something,
We have to answer it, but
Tonight.
not right now.
No. I would just like to get some answers, Dave.
So get some answers for us on November 6th.
a certain amount of prayer would be good. No, it's gonna be very tough. But, I mean, we'll eliminate the fee. Only one use of the money. Eliminate the police and fire service fee. The $15 fee, and we'll, I don't know, there's other cities have actually not collected their full tax rate for a few years to try to sell you know, I mean, Tenny, there's ways of doing it, but the matter isn't, I mean, we're gonna have to deal with it, and we need to be thinking about it, but I don't think we're gonna have answers that are gonna lay out a seamless plan for the future tonight. I mean, we're just not gonna be able to.
Oh, I wasn't, I'm sorry if you thought I was asking for that tonight, I was not.
Oh, I knew you weren't, but I thought I would just lay it out.
Yeah,
We need to be worried about exactly what you're worried about. I'm worried about it too, so.
between now and us going to the voters, we need to get that figured out.
And get the numbers ahead of time and not at the last minute, and making sure that we have that exit. All right, anything else?
Did we give any direction, 1 year, 2 year exit clause, anything?
I think do the best they can.
Yeah.
Can't, if we say 1 year or 2
A
years.
2-year exit?
If we say 1 year.
The previous one was the 2-year exit option, right?
Yeah, the previous one had a 2-year exit option.
And we did talk about possibly doing 1 year, but quite frankly, would we be ready to do anything in a year? Probably not. So I guess you have to use some judgment and when you're talking with the other managers.
It's better than where we were.
Yeah, it is. All right, so next month at this time is parent conference night for me, and it is Thanksgiving week.
Well, why not, maybe we
17th.
moved the council meeting to the 18th.
Yeah, okay,
Why
so
don't we do it on the 17th, because that'll come after the task force meeting that Jeffrey and I are attending, and we can report on that, and I don't think we ought to put it off any longer than that, so I would say the 17th.
I would agree with that.
fight hard.
Work, no parent-teacher conference that night.
No, not that week. It works for our schedule.
Okay.
Work for you?
Yeah, does it work for you? And hopefully it'll work with wildlife. Maybe you can message her. 17th, does that work, Tammy? Yeah. Well, we've had some really good discussions. Does anybody want to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Adjourn.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.